is really about just letting them share their journeys with each of you. So I'm going to do a quick intro of who they are, and then they're going to share their stories, and then we're going to open it up to Q&A. So please, this is meant to be family style again. Please raise your hand, ask questions, and really get to know these guys because they are leading the future for us. So first, we have Tom Whiteside. Tom, you might not. Maybe you can recognize him a little bit. Yes. But Tom is helping to change the face of men's health through the power of the mustache. How many of you know what that is? What is it? Movember. Yes. So Tom is the grassroots engagement director for Movember. He really leads that, and their focus, as you guys know, is 30 days in November, growing a mustache to really focus on men's health and fitness. So Tom, welcome. Aloha. This is their first time all to Hawaii as well, to Oahu. Yeah, it's really big. It's awesome. Kirk Hensler. Kirk is a lot of things. He is also one of our ambassadors in San Diego, California. He's also an entrepreneur. He owns 2 yoga studios. He started his career in a very cool way that he'll share with each of you. He's also a writer, publishing a book later this year. You can also find his blog post on Rebel Society, and just an all-around cool guy. Get ready for him. Dan Wells. Dan is, he's going to share a very vivid past of his, but today he's not only an entrepreneur as well. He's not only an entrepreneur, but he is also a CrossFit champion. He is the owner of CrossFit Horsepower in LA, in Studio City specifically. His clients range from us to many celebs, and just an all-around great guy, full-on entrepreneur too. He graduated Cornell and is just a really smart dude. And then this one here, Keith Mitchell, former NFL linebacker, played with New Orleans, with Houston. Who else am I missing? One more. His journey is phenomenal, and the NFL side, I think you can all see he's quite bigger than I am. But his path forward is great. So between the 4 of these guys, as you think about it, individually and collectively, they all really look at life through a different lens, but they land in the same place, really focused on what the world looks like in the future and men's health and fitness. With that, I'd like to let them share more about their journeys, and we'll start off with Tom.
Thank you very much for being here and for the kind introduction.
Yeah.
If y'all can't hear me, just yell at me. I'm really honored to be up here in front of you guys with this esteemed panel of young men. I was going to frame my talk around my career in the NFL, but technically Keith was probably the more proficient linebacker. So I'm going to leave the NFL side to him, and I'll use yoga. It seems fitting. Yoga's been a good part of my life. It makes sense to talk about it here at a yoga and music festival, and it's a good time marker in my story. So I'll start with, I actually remember the first time I did a yoga class. It was the summer after I graduated college. It was 2003. And I was doing a program through my university where we did Shakespeare all summer, and that's a whole different story, the Shakespeare nerd side. But we had a warm-up one morning with a yoga class, first time I'd ever done it. Thought it was a little hippy-dippy, wasn't sure what to think of it. I was still a smoker, and it was all very new to me. But it must have stuck. A couple years later, around 25, I started to get more into yoga, and it became just a part of my life. It helped me deal with anxiety and just problems, helped me escape for that hour to just zone out and listen to someone lead. And this led up to fall of 2006. I moved with my then fiancée to New York City, and she was starting law school, and I moved up with her, and I started having night sweats. And first in the story was we broke up. She broke up with me at the end of September of 2006. So I stayed in New York, had these night sweats. I go home for Thanksgiving that year, and my mom made me go to the doctor. And of course, it was a woman in my life who actually got me to go. I'd been putting up with these symptoms without getting them checked out for a while. I go to the doctor, and one thing after another led to a diagnosis of Hodgkin's lymphoma. So it was stage 4 by the time they found it. This is December of 2006. I was 26 years old, and I was not prepared to deal with that. And I had great care. I moved back home to Lubbock, Texas, where I'm from. And I proceeded to go through 5 months of high-dose chemotherapy and a month of radiation. And at the end of June of 2007, I was declared in remission, and I still am to this day, which is great. Thank you. I'm quote unquote cured in the medical language after 5 years. But there at the end of treatment in June of 2007, the local YMCA offered free classes for cancer patients, survivors, and their family members. And I picked up again, which was really helpful in finishing chemo because it just ravaged me. I was really beat up, and I was starting to get my strength back throughout radiation, and yoga was a big part of that. Incidentally, my dad, who's a very conservative guy from Texas, he actually started going with me. I convinced him to because I told him it would help his golf game, which is not untrue because it's good for flexibility, core strength, all that stuff. He in his life had never been able to sit Indian style, and he actually can to this day. So even starting in his mid-50s, yoga had a big impact on him, and he still goes 3 times a week, which is pretty funny but awesome. But so yoga was instrumental in that recovery and transition back into the real world. Here I was just 27. I had survived, or I was hoping to survive, a pretty serious disease, and it really turned my life around. I was living in New York. I was getting into the world of publishing. I thought I was going to be married, and now I'm back home in Lubbock, Texas. I just survived cancer, and I'm trying to get on with my life. So I ended up back in Austin, Texas, where I'd gone to school. And as life happens, it just sort of laid out that I started volunteering with one group, and I did team and training, and I did my first triathlon. I'd never been a runner or swimmer or cyclist. I got hooked into that. That led to a job at Livestrong, where I worked for 3 years. And through Livestrong, I ended up with Movember, where I started in June of 2012. So I've been with Movember for about 1.5 years. And for those that don't know, we're a global organization that encourages men to grow a mustache during the month of November. So I'm misrepresenting a little with the beard, but you start clean shaven on November 1st. You grow a mustache, just the mustache, for the 30 days of Movember. And that is to raise awareness and funds around men's health. So we're a global organization. Last year, we had about 1 million participants, raised about $120 million. So this November, I'll expect the men to start clean shaven. And in part of that, helping with men's health, we encourage men to get active. And whether that's taking on a first 5K, going for a walk 3 times a week during the month, or taking a yoga class, we encourage that. So we call that program Move, and I head that up, and we encourage men to do yoga. So yoga's been this nice little timestamp throughout all these big phases in my life.
Awesome. Okay. Kirk. Thanks, Tom.
So one thing I've already learned is not to follow the guy who has beaten cancer at the Speakeasy, but I'll do my best. Overcoming challenges. I was thinking, Dan and I went swimming this afternoon, and the ocean was a little colder than I would have wished it to be. So, but I got through that, and I'm here. So, I'm here with you guys now to talk about it. I have a question, actually, a couple of them. Show of hands, how many of you wake up in the morning and you actually feel quite overwhelmed by pressure, responsibilities, and things like that? Okay. And then how many of you wake up and you just dominate? You go right into it. So you guys with your hands up, I want you all to leave. And leave the country and work somewhere else. And so I'm the first guy. I usually spend the first 10 minutes of every day thinking about changing my name or how I can sell my companies or canceling all my meetings. Because for me, as soon as I pull down the sheets, I know when foot touches the floor, that's reality, and I have to start making real human decisions. And that's a bit daunting. I wasn't one of those people that came into yoga and immediately found happiness and freedom. I fall more on the side of mental patient. I've been diagnosed, yeah, it's funny, you can laugh because I'm laughing. I've been diagnosed with OCD. They had to separate me from my backpack, which is hard for me, but I'm doing it for the cameras. Also, anxiety, depression, and bipolar. And so I have a pretty nice rap sheet in that regard. And I had to take a ton of medicine for a long time, and enough medicine where as an 18-year-old I did not want to have sex, and so I knew it was a problem, and so I kind of wanted to figure something out I could do. So out of necessity, I started doing yoga and martial arts, And it was interesting because I just really wanted to feel something again, like feel my body, feel my thought process, and just have experiences that seem significant. And it's been great. I've had some nice experience. I can't say that it fixed me or I was cured or anything like that, but yoga and martial arts collectively have kind of given me a new perspective and a new outlook. And that's been super helpful. One of the bummer things is I found out you can't swear in a lot of yoga studios. And that was, honestly, one of the main reasons I opened my own. So I opened a yoga... I opened a yoga and kickboxing studio that offers free green smoothies after every class because a couple reasons. As you guys know, yogis can get a little aggressive, and so I had the kickboxers there to kind of keep them in line. And then I have the green smoothies after every class because people are really socially awkward. And so many times I'll look at somebody and I'm like, wow, they're so interesting. I wish I could talk to them. And then they look back at me and I say, oh, fuck, they're looking at me. And I just turn around and walk away. And so the green smoothie thing, it's like brings people together, gives them a reason, kind of forced interaction. And it's been nice. So we've had a good run at my studio. People come there and they're pretty normal, pretty happy. And authenticity is kind of a big thing for me. So I won't teach a ton about happiness or peacefulness in my classes. I actually talk more about struggle, physical, mental, emotional struggle, because those things are more real to me. And that makes me feel pretty good, pretty free. I was raised Catholic, kind of, like most people, you're kind of raised Catholic. And we learned at a young age to pray. And so I used to go home every night, and I would please God, protect my family, my friends, don't let a burglar come in here, I'm on the ground floor, and also forgive me of all my sins. And then I would always hear this other voice, and he'd be like, I hate God, I hate God, I hate God. Does anyone ever get that doubt that happens? I mean, I'm not schizophrenic as far as I know, but I might be. But and so I would hear that, and it kind of followed me. And now if I ever experience joy or happiness, I'll hear that same voice, and it's like, Kirk, you're a douche. That's not real. And so then I have to say, yes, it is real, because I've learned these new ways. And with that, to stay ahead of that cloud, I have to be kind of courageous. And so I committed fully to writing. I used to be scared to death to publish because everyone will judge your words once you put them out there. And now it's not so bad. I've been publishing about 3 years. I will publish a book later this year, and one of the good things about being bipolar is that you can write a 200-page book in 36 days. And so I did that, and I also started dancing, ballet, modern, and hip-hop. I danced 5 days a week. I did my first performance, and it was scarier than cage fighting. But I think I'm going to be all right, so that's where I am now, and I'm pretty pumped about it. So, yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Kirk. I'm a little speechless. Dan Wells.
Wow. I did not have to take any medications as a child. Apparently, if I had, I'd be much more interesting. That was great, man. I didn't... he's kind of kept it all kind of cool. We were over in Suite 213 over here, and he's kind of kept it all chill, but he exposed the heart a little bit there for you guys, the real version. Where to start off of that? I actually had a pretty chill childhood. I was normal, and good things happened for me. I was sort of a A-type personality, overachiever, lots of A's, good in sports, prom king, everything was great. And it was really, really great. It was awesome. It was great. I became a CPA. I would click and drag through spreadsheets. Only use my left brain. I was very sort of ego-driven, and I felt that my left brain could basically handle anything that the world threw at me. And as a CPA, at one point I was out on we called them engagements, determining whether or not someone did what they say they did as far as the money they earned. And then I got a call from my mom. And I found out my dad died when I was 22. And so that's when my everything turned for me. Sorry. And it's the reason I tell you it is because that was the big turning point for me in my life. Everything changed for me from that point. Let me take a deep breath.
We all will. We all will.
We learn how to breathe here. That's good. And from that point on, I realized that I wasn't such a big deal, and that I needed to get the hell out of my left brain and start listening to my gut and have some faith and courage and just the way the universe flows. The reason I'm saying all these things because I've come full circle and done a lot of yoga over the years, and I keep kind of yoga brings me grounded to these points. But ever since then, allowing myself to just sort of have faith that the universe will guide me, not only did I find just a watershed of good fortune come into my life. Amazing. I went to a great undergrad. I went to a phenomenal graduate school. I had a pretty cool girlfriend in undergrad. I've been blessed to date some wonderful women since. But it's like you stop taking yourself so damn seriously, and you get to focus off yourself and on the world and the universe and helping other people. And it wasn't until my dad died that I stopped taking myself so damn seriously. There's a point to all this. And I've got some buddies that have been beat down by tragedies. And they're just like, I got effed by this and I got effed by that. And it literally wrecks their life. And it's never, my point is that it's never too late to interpret the things that happen to you in a positive light. And notice the things that they do bring into your world as opposed to the things that you've lost. The way this gets all the way into fitness is this. I own a CrossFit gym. Has anybody ever been to a CrossFit gym? Anybody ever been afraid to go to a CrossFit gym? Good. That's good. You're not alone. It's scary. You see these jack dudes and jack girls jogging down the street carrying kettlebells and doing crazy stuff, and it's intimidating. But what I'm getting at is, as far as fitness, it's probably the thing you might fear the most is doing a CrossFit workout. But then some of these people, like Terry Hatcher, for example, she's 49 years old. She was on Desperate Housewives. She comes in 4 times a week now. She says it's the highlight of her entire day, every day. But before she came in, her trepidation was so great. And then there was the point where she crossed the line and came into the gym. And then she dreaded the first workout because she didn't know what the heck a double under was or what on earth is a snatch. I'm going to leave that laugh to you guys. Inevitably, she pushed herself to the point of complete exhaustion and accomplished something she never imagined that she could do. And in doing so, she went from here all the way to here, and that sense of accomplishment, when you can do it day in and day out, breeds confidence. And it breeds a capacity for courage in anything that life throws at you, whether it be just working out or whether it be taking on a risk with your career, with your with anything in your life, anything that you might hope to contribute to the world. And so the thing that I love best about this new sort of, the world of CrossFit is that not only are we making people healthier, as does yoga, we're helping people daily reach the precipice of their comfort zone and break through it. And in so doing, that allows people to take more risks in their entire life. And they voluntarily take on life-changing moments like the one that I had and that many people have in their lives. And so that's the beauty, and that's what I want to encourage to you guys, is to try a CrossFit class, hopefully. and in those moments, whether it be in your past or in your present, when bad things happen to you, I think that God puts them there for a reason. The universe puts them there for a reason, and it's to help you become stronger in the long run.
Dan, thank you so much. Thank you. Keith Mitchell.
Well, Colleen, I should have went first. These guys are powerful speakers over here.
Keith talks a lot, so we went last.
Oh, man.
But we love that.
It's a high bar to follow. But nevertheless, I'm Keith Mitchell. Namaste.
Namaste.
Yes. My journey, I guess, is, along the same lines. As a kid coming out of Dallas, Texas, I had dreamed a dream. We call it manifestations. I manifested. I wanted to be a professional athlete. It was, coming from a small town, suburb of Dallas. Not many people believed me. I wasn't the biggest kid, but I had that thought, and each day I would nurture that thought of creating the possibility and making that possibility my reality. From there, I got a scholarship to play at Texas A&M. And actually, I had built my reputation, I guess, as a player to get recruited by pretty much every major university in the country. And I decided on Texas A&M because it was close to home. I was afraid to go outside of Texas because, I was raised in a Christian home. My father's a preacher, and I never really got a chance to experience the world outside of a 9 p.m. curfew. So in my journey through A&M, I had a successful career there, and I had became, All-American, first team All-American. My junior year, my senior year. I'm going here for a reason because just the perfect example as life kind of brings us up in these roller coasters and we're dealing with it and we're trying to make sense out of it. And, we don't understand it, but, it comes around 360, apparently, as I've seen it in myself. So through my college career, being All-American and things like that, I'd been predicted to be a first-round draft pick. And come draft day, I had the party, I had the media there, and I didn't get drafted. And it was one of the most craziest days of my life because everything that I had worked for, it just didn't make sense. And, it's so interesting. One of the coaches, Pittsburgh Steelers head coach, he called me, Bill Cowher. How many guys know Bill Cowher? Okay. And this is me. This is the mentality that I had after really being punched in the face, not getting drafted. So Bill Cowher calls me. It's the 7th round, which is the last round of the draft. He says, son, I don't know what happened. We had you high on our draft board, and you slipped, and, for whatever reason, we were wanting to draft you. We're thinking about you and another kid. And I was like, you know what, coach, it's like, I think you may be better taking the other kid because I don't know where I am with football right now, and he did. he took the other kid. He took my advice. And, just so happened, this profound guy that I grew up watching coach for many years, Coach Mike Ditka, Hall of Fame coach, yeah. He calls, and this is after the draft is over. And he says, well, I don't know why. We can sit here and talk about it, but I don't know why you didn't get drafted. But, son, I'm looking to give you an opportunity. I'm willing to give you an opportunity to come here, and I'll give you a fair shot. And I was like, okay. First I was like, if I can play for this guy, I can play for anybody, And I went there, and he was man of his word. He did. He gave me my opportunity. And not many people know, even to this day, that I didn't get drafted, because I came in and I started my rookie year as an undrafted player in New Orleans. And in my second year, I was voted to the Pro Bowl. You know, just, it's interesting story. And then, so speeding it up, 8 years, right? I'm going through the journey and having my success, and I'm going to bring it to yoga now. I went to the Houston Texans. Then my last season I was in Jacksonville. You know, I was a starter with Houston. Didn't like the situation there in Houston, so one of my good friends, head coach Jack Del Rio, got the job in Jacksonville, and I decided to go there. And my second game of the season, playing against the Buffalo Bills, making a tackle that I've made, like, at this point in my life 1,000 times, 1,000,000 times at least. And, you know, I knew the guy I was like, he's running an angle route. I'm calling the play out. I'm looking at the quarterback. I'm looking at him. I'm going to put this forehead right in his chest. And as I go to do that, and as we make impact, I hit this guy, and all I remember is my body turns, and I'm looking up at the sky. And I guess I said the first part of the story because it seems like, you know, the universe, the creator, it was setting me up for this. You know, it was seasoning for me for this. Because as I looking up, I'm like, okay, Keith, get up. Keith, move. Do something. And my body's not responding at all. And from that day on, for about 6 months, I had to deal with that. And so everything that I thought I was, every belief that I thought about, I had to face. All the chaos that's built up, you know, all the things that, you know, the internal so-called demons that's within, or, you know, characteristics that we pick up in life, I had to deal with that. And it brought me to a whole different place, whole different reality. I was taught meditation, and when luckily for me, the PT suggested this meditation, and I was like, this is what is going to save me. This is what's going to save me. This is all, you talking about a mantra? That was my mantra. This is going to save me. And through this 6-month period, I began to, like, if I was frozen and my body was just thawing out. And through this 6-month period, I just, like, you know, this finger would move and this arm would move and this would kind of unfold. And I was like, okay. And it was a process, but I was practicing every day. Like, it was no such thing as my 30-minute meditation. It was all-day meditation. Every day counted. Every day counted. I had to. If I lost a day, I could have possibly not walked again. So every day had to count. And that was my intention, and I still live this. And as I teach people and I have an opportunity to work with people, this is what I share. Every day counts. Life is so precious, you know, and when it's potentially taken, I think that's the times we really see that, you know, how serious it is sometimes. But nevertheless, meditation, as I began to heal, as I began to get functional, yoga became my practice, and I'm an advocate for yoga meditation, and I'm teaching it all over the world, and whoever's going to listen, or even who don't want to listen, I'm going to teach them yoga meditation.
You know that. Thank you, Keith. He means that. And I stand corrected on never visiting. Keith was here when he played in the Pro Bowl. I forgot about that. And his mom is one of his #1 fans, so super sweet. Thank you each for sharing and being so vulnerable. I know their stories, and I'm still touched. And I'd like to open it up to each of you now to ask any questions, share anything that you'd like. Yes, please.
Assuming you might make the decision to walk into a CrossFit.
Okay, the question's around CrossFit.
How do you not get injured?
That's a good question. So these classes are 1 hour, these CrossFit classes. The workout is usually like 10 minutes. The rest of the time, we're making sure you don't get injured by teaching you how to do everything properly and warming you up properly and everything else. And then it becomes a battle between your ears. So with me, when I did Ashtanga for about 18 straight months, which is, they say, the CrossFit of yoga. So people aren't surprised that I was drawn to that. But I was always sort of wrestling with keeping my mind quiet during the meditation sort of part of it. In CrossFit, you've got this, well, I've got this little voice, I'm going to visit it today later, who screams in my ear, "This sucks, quit. You could be at home on the couch watching SportsCenter." It's brutal. You just want to stop. And then you see Terry Hatcher over there, and she's still doing pull-ups, and you're like, I got to keep moving. And then somebody else is doing burpees, and you keep going. And inevitably, you wrestle with this little voice that wants you to stop. But then you kind of like, you just get to a point where you notice him. You're like, "Hey, what's up, asshole?" And you continue plowing forward. And then you finish, and you're like on the ground in sweat, writhing. You're like, "Ugh, it's over," but you're happy. Anyway, so to answer your question, that I totally went and veered off course on, we watch you very closely and make sure you don't hurt yourself.
Thank you. Jody.
Can you tell us a little bit about how you're meeting with Congress to incorporate meditation into the recovery for veterans?
Nice. Yes, of course.
Yes, so the question
Yes.
was, how is Keith incorporating yoga and meditation into Congress to support veterans?
So yes, I had the pleasure to meet Congressman Tim Ryan from Ohio. Amazing yogi, believe it or not, right? We have yogis in office. And he's set this up for me. May 7th, I'm journeying to D.C. to lead about 35 congressmen, senators do a guided meditation. CNN is covering it. We're going to have a whole big deal with this. Yes. I mean, that's a big deal, and I'm very excited. And we're going to be doing a petition because for this, and while we're doing this, is for the veterans to make yoga meditation a part of the rehabilitation for the retired veterans. So we're going to definitely need to get you guys on board for our petition, to sign this petition for us to get this bill passed. And my thing about this in our community, we don't have to just stop here. Other things that we want to change, influence in office, this is like a spark to say, okay, we got this one. Well, now what's the next one we want to agree upon? And what's the next one? I think this is an amazing first step to like really get our voices out there and say, hey, let's make a change. So very excited about that. Yes.
Yes. Thanks. Yes.
What is meditative yoga? What would be a normal class for that?
Well, meditation, people teach it differently. Have you ever meditated or? No. Okay, so perfect. You would be the perfect student I would love to share meditation to. Because I want to keep it as simple for you as possible. The reality is we take 21,000 or so breaths a day. And as you breathe from the diaphragm, on the inhale, the diaphragm pushes down. On the exhale, it pushes up. You have 21,000 chances a day to nurture your body and everything that you do, every motion that you do. And when you create that intention as a basis of living, it doesn't just stop with your breath. It goes into what you put into your body. It goes into the energy that you allow yourself to be around, because it all counts and it all matters. It's about nurturing your body in coming from a place where we've basically, from the most part, we've neglected ourselves, and we haven't been taught that. And I know it, especially as an athlete, you do everything besides nurture your body. You sacrifice your body. And that's really the mindset and some of the conditioning that have been raised under, to think that way. So now we reverse it and give back to ourselves. Because in giving back to ourselves gives us the intuition of giving to others. Whoa. Exactly, your movement with breathing. And in listening, breathing allows you to be present, to listen to what your body's saying, and not push yourself past your limits. Does that make sense? I am launching my website. My brand is Y59. And Y stands for, it could stand for yoga. My thing is an inquiry, is inquiry, asking questions. Why? If I have a belief, why do I believe this? And not judging that belief, but just observing that belief. And then I'm seeing our actions after our belief and what we say, and connecting that.
We'll be sure that everyone knows how to reach these guys after, too. Thank you for that question.
Yeah, good question.
Other questions or thoughts? Yes, please. Tom.
So, one of my biggest fears is I loved playing football growing up, so it was like being paralyzed and like being out of my body. But like, do you feel like in that moment of like being broken down that you were stronger, being able to bring yourself like out of a hole than you were when you were well and healthy? Because like every day was like you were like, I have to do this, I have to do this. With you being sick, it's like you have this real opportunity to like give up, but in the moment where people assume that you're weak, you're actually rebuilding that strength. Do you feel like it's a little bit more ingrained now than it was before you got sick?
Yeah, and I'll share the question for anyone who couldn't hear. Paraphrasing, in the moments, asking Tom and Keith, in the moments when you were broken down, did you feel stronger? Tom?
At the time, I didn't. I felt both physically and emotionally very weak. I know for me, humor helped a lot, tremendously, throughout the whole process. I would try to joke when possible and keep a good attitude, and all the chemo nurses will tell you that there's no scientific data, but they can tell when people have a better outlook. So I think I was optimistic, but I was at my lowest physically and emotionally, and it was scary. I was 26, and it's a treatable disease, but it's not 100% cure rate, so I really struggled with my own mortality. Coming out of it, I can definitely say I'm a lot stronger than I could have been at that point in my life. I had a maturity or a wisdom that I wouldn't wish on anybody, but given the opportunity, you make the most of it. But I mean, I was scared shitless at the time.
Keith?
Same as well. I mean, going through the situation, you're in it, and it's really for me. It wasn't so much. I didn't let myself go down the road of depression. Thoughts came up, but as the thoughts came up, I tried to find reinforcement to make it positive. So that was my thing.
Thank you both. Thanks for the question. Another question. Okay. Karina, okay. Karina trumps Jeff.
I'll start with Kirk, but if any of you have this one, I'm wondering if you ever had a moment like within your guy community with your bros when you told them you did yoga. Were you afraid to tell them you did yoga, or what's the response there? I don't know what it's like to be a man and say, hey man, you want to go do a yoga class?
Well, for me, before yoga, I was a competitive fighter, so I can beat most of my friends up. So I just said, hey, we're going to go do yoga. And they were like, all right, cool. But I do advocate how it's one of the most physically challenging things. And any guy who says it's just stretching, I just say, please come with me to one class. And you'll see quickly that you will have a hard time physically and mentally. So, yeah, I don't care. I think, it's great. I don't care if it makes me look any certain way. I'll tell anyone to do it. Yeah.
What about ballet dancing, Kirk?
That's a different story. I've always wanted to be a dancer, and so I said, you know what, the hell with it. I enrolled in Ballet 1 at City College right down the street from my office, and my first day of class, I was bearded like this gentleman, and I was the only guy, and there was about 30 18-year-old girls, and I felt like a dirty creep. I went as far in the corner as I could, and I didn't talk to anyone for 6 weeks. And then all of a sudden, one day, I was going across the floor, and we're doing jetés, which is a jump, and I always had my head down out of embarrassment, and I heard "look up," and I look up, and there's a group of girls like cheering me on and encouraging me to lift up my head, and right? This is real. This really happened. And so then I was like, holy cow, these are real people. So same thing. I would love any guy to come to ballet. I think it's the manliest thing I've ever done.
Yeah.
Modern dance is not the
We
case.
applaud it. We applaud it. As I'm listening to them, the word courage just keeps like ringing in my body over and over and over again. What does courage look like for each of us? And it could look very different at different parts of our lives. Jeff, question.
I want to know if any of you guys have considered a career in comedy.
The question is, have any of these guys considered a career in comedy? The
Yeah.
four of them together has been comedy for us.
So just actually, 85% of the people that come to Wanderlust are female. So I'm wondering what you guys consider the key would be to get more men to actually do yoga in big social settings like this.
Great. So Jeff's question is, what do these guys think would be key to get more men involved in yoga and social gatherings like this? I actually will, let's have each of you respond because they each carry such a different lens in life. Shall we start with
I
Dan?
can start at my gym, CrossFit Horsepower. We've got 400 members, and we do have yoga on Sundays. So that's what I have to do. I've got to pitch to my members, come to yoga. And the research I've done, as far as the benefits of yoga for the athleticism that we do, is that it's not good before we work out. We need dynamic stretching like they do in places like China, where you just see people like just quickly jumping and doing fast things. Mm-hmm. But afterwards, it's extraordinary because the restorative benefits are there and they're proven. And we all benefit in that sense. So for me, it's restoration, which is important. A lot of CrossFitters want to do it 24/7, and it's like all year long, and you have to stop for a time and restore your body, allow your cells to recover and restore. So that's how I pitch it at my gym, and that's how I would do it here.
I actually want to just step in there, Dan. This is not a scientific number, but Dan and I were talking about how many CrossFitters do we think do yoga? And he threw out a number, because I always probe for like numbers. He threw out a number, and I thought it was pretty interesting.
Yeah, it's pretty low. I mean, we've maybe 5 to 10% of them do it. They, if there's not loud music blaring, it's tough to get them to do anything. But doesn't mean it's not there, and it doesn't mean I shouldn't be doing a better job of, getting them to those classes. But,
Great, thank you, Tom.
That's a good question. I don't know the exact answer. I'll relate this to my job at Movember, right? We try to get men to think and act on their health, which, there's mostly women here. You guys are blazing the way for men. We're following in your footsteps, but clearly women are much more empowered patients. Women live about 5 years longer than men do in the U.S., and biologically there's no reason for that. Guys are just stubborn. We don't get in front of things. And I think that plays into yoga. I think there's this sort of concept that yoga is somehow for women, or it's not like real exercise or something. So I think it's partly a shift in thinking, and then partly making it accessible. Like I said, I got my dad to go because I told him it'd be good for golf. That's not going to work for everybody, but if you take a buddy and get him to go to class, and he's going to see that it's hard, and he's going to hurt, and he's going to sweat a lot, hurt in a good way, like you're going to use muscles. But I do think it's a shift in thinking that men have to take on. I think younger generations are closer to that. Like, I think younger guys are more likely to go to the doctor or get in front of a problem, and probably more likely to try yoga. But I do think it's just those archetypes around what is male and what is female. So we got to break it down.
Tom, was your answer trick people?
I'm glad she saw through the BS. It was just trick people. And also tell them there's a lot of good-looking women in there too, which never hurts.
Hey, Tom, would you do a quick PSA on the MOVE initiative? I think it would be great, too, to just share while we're talking about how to get men involved.
Yeah, so real quick, like I said, we rolled out a new initiative with Movember called MOVE, and our primary ask will always be to grow a mustache in the month of Movember to raise awareness around men's health. Secondarily, we want to encourage men to get active, and it doesn't have to be a marathon, it doesn't have to be an Ironman, it could be literally getting off a bus stop early. We want Movember to be that excuse to start to instill these health habits in your life, both going to the doctor, getting ahead of ailments, but also making exercise a part of your life, because as you all know, there's so many diseases and symptoms that can be either prevented or in great part alleviated with just literally just movement. 20 minutes of walking a day. So MOVE is hopefully our opportunity for guys to take on whatever it may be, taking the stairs to the office. Yoga, actually in Canada, the #1 registered MOVE event was yoga, or MOGA as we call it. So I honestly think yoga is the absolute perfect MOVE event for any guy, because it's so healthy, it's accessible to anybody. It requires no real equipment, it requires no background. You can go in and do a beginner class. It's amazing for your body, and it's a great way to meet people and get active. So that's what MOVE is, and yeah, we just want guys and gals, but it's like guys are the harder ones, to just get active.
Cool, thank you. Okay, grounding us how to get more men involved. Kirk.
So I know the answer, but I'm not going to tell you because I like it how it is now. I'm sure if you look at your trajectory, the numbers are going up no matter what, and will continue to. But I would consider to post photographs of the girls in attendance on the website, like the bars do for special events for clubs. So yeah, that's my recommendation professionally.
Thank you. Keith.
Well, Jeff, normally, I have a pretty good asana practice, but Skylar, I don't know. But, a lot of guys have excuses. They say, well, it's easy for, she's 5'5", and she can touch her toes, she can do these types of things. When they see, guys like ourselves do some of the poses, it gives them more of a comfort to say, okay, that's more likely something I can do. So I guess more the men like this on this panel, I guess, are out and advocating things such as yoga meditation, then, more men will want to come out. Yeah.
And Jeff, I want to answer your question. How to get more men involved? I think it starts with these guys and each of you, and that's why they're here, because we really believe in each of you and what you're up to. And when I look at each of them, I can see what's possible in men being involved in women, in the relationship of men and women in yoga and in life. So, yeah.
I actually have a serious answer for you, Jeff. Honestly, a lot of big reason why men won't come to something like this is because they would assume in their head it's for girls, or if they do go, then they're like just here to prowl on women, and that's just the truth psychologically. And so, if you actually created an event or a class that was specifically for men, and you eliminated the obstacle of entry and gave them a direct connect, I'm going to that Broga class, that's why I'm going to Wanderlust, then it opens the floodgate for everybody to commingle. So I think you just need to give them something they can attach to that eliminates the psychological barrier.
Cool.
Yes.
He does do that too.
$3.50
Okay.
an hour, but
Making some job deals. I
give
know
you a
we only
discount.
have a few more minutes, but I would love to open it up to one more question. Okay. Yes, please.
Yeah, we tried to do it at my studio, and I got an email, a cease and desist. There's somebody, I think in LA, it's Broga, it's yoga for all men. There's also naked yoga for all men, and that's no good. But Broga,
Is that studio in West Hollywood?
in Los Angeles,
LA crew.
and in most major cities now, you'll find all male yoga classes, and it's just nice, less intimidating to get started.
Yeah. Okay, question.
It's not really a question, but I usually use it makes you a better lover.
Oh, More data for you, Jeff. Okay. No, hey, I'm all game. All right. Well, we'd like to close out with having each of you please share parting thoughts for this group. And something we talk about a lot at Lululemon is your legacy and your vision and goals. And you've heard a lot of the path they've been on with their vision and goals in life. And we want to leave you with legacy and thoughts from these guys. So we'll start with Dan. Any thoughts?
With me.
Yes, please. Thoughts for this crew to leave with as we...
Well, I suppose my thought would just be to embrace your struggles and see them as opportunities, and take it to the next step and actually seek them out. Put yourself in a situation where if you can endure it, you're going to come out the back end stronger. Because when you do that, you're ready for anything that life throws at you, and inevitably, it's something that's going to blindside you. And so that would be my message.
Thank you. I know your mom and dad are very proud. It's really... Tom, legacy.
I learned I got cancer, and that's what I'm the healthiest I've ever been because of cancer, right? Which is a funny thing to say. And I just basically tell my friends or anyone that'll listen, don't wait till you have cancer. And this is what Movember does, is we just try to get guys to think and act on their health. It's really not a mind-blowing concept, right? Guys just don't like to do it. So all we're trying to do, our tagline is changing the face of men's health. There's a built-in pun, we get guys to grow a mustache, but really we're trying to affect that change in the way guys think. And I do think the younger the guy is, the more likely he is to do it. But I want people to learn from, not my mistake, I don't know why I got cancer, but it happened to me, and that's what got me active, and I go to the doctor regularly. I'm a very un-guy in that sense, and I just want other guys to practice that before something bad goes on. That's all.
That's great. Thank you. Kirk.
My legacy is that one day I want to look like Keith Mitchell. So whatever I have to do to get there, I've made a deal with the devil. No, I don't. Has anyone ever heard of a guy named John Goddard? Anybody? He's referred to, as the real-life Indiana Jones. When he was 15 years old, he sat down in L.A. and he wrote out a list of 127 goals that he wanted to accomplish. And they weren't easy goals. It was climbing the major mountains, traveling through rivers from source to mouth, running a 5-minute mile, reading the entire Encyclopedia Britannica. And so when he was 88 and he passed away, he had completed 107 of those goals. And he's one of the most interesting people you can imagine. And so for me, it's just about courage to live the life that I know I want to live, as opposed to the one that's expected of me. I think that's for most of us. I have all these projects that I have to do before I die, and I don't even know what they all are yet. I just know that there's really big shit happening, and I'm just trying to get there. And so I work a lot with kids in the States and internationally, and we do social, emotional, and leadership education so that they can start at a young age thinking about what do they really want to do and how do they really want to live. Because I probably wasted 25 years, and I would like to kind of move that information up a little faster. So just being courageous and honest, and feeling like you don't care if people like you, but that you like yourself. That's what I'd like to leave behind, for sure.
Thank you. That's good. Keith, your legacy.
Well, one of the things that what I'm doing is create this concept I'm calling it Project Sky. And I'm implementing this with the legislation for the VA. And it's basically a holistic healthcare facility that's going to encompass all the modalities from gyrotonics to cryotherapy, all these types of therapies that you can allow yourself to heal naturally. And we're going to base it off the premise of yoga meditation as well. That's going to be incorporated in the facility. So that's one of the things that is an amazing thing for me. I initially wanted to do it with the NFL, but it's turned out to work with more of the VA as of now. But that's one of the things that I want to really kick off in 2016. Is my goal to break ground on the first facility of that. Yeah, so-
Beautiful, beautiful. Okay, well, what I heard from each of you, embracing change. Wow, from you, this is don't wait, Tom. Kirk, be courageous and be you. And Keith, he's up to big things, this guy. And what I hear in what you do is just really that you can make change individually. And so I want to thank all of you and thank each of you for sharing your stories, for being so vulnerable with each of us. And again, these guys are changing and redefining men's health and fitness for each of us.
Really quick, if people want to get in touch with them.
Yeah, if you guys want to get in touch with this crew, Kirk.
My Instagram page is pretty hot. Yeah. Instagram and Twitter, Kirk Hensler.
Yes. Movember, I'm assuming.
Mobro Tom.
Mobro Tom.
CrossFitHorsepower.com.
Yeah, that's good.
I mean, there's a okay. There's a
No, that's perfect.
Dan at CrossFitHorsepower.com. That comes right to me.
Cool.
All right.
K Mitchell 59. It's my Twitter
Cool.
website.
A whole lot of folks not writing anything down.
They'll get this on the flip side. Awesome. All right. These are the men. Thank you, everyone. Wow.